Myself, Simon, John and Elizabeth went up to our Angel to look at some work to choose for the exhibition. They laid loads of stuff out for us to look at. It was a really nice project up there. I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice day. I kind of just picked, just went with instinct really. I didn't try. I tried not to think too much. I just picked what I liked really. And there were lots of things that I liked, and there were lots of things that maybe I didn't like as much. But then it's just depends on what kind of mood you're in the day and all that stuff. Which is why I guess it's good that there were a few of us deciding, because then you get a more broader idea of. And you know, who's to say what's good and what isn't anyway? You know, it's just someone's opinion. But I'm very happy with all the stuff that's been chosen, because it is my favourite stuff that was there that day. When I first walked into the space in our Angel, the first thing that drew my eye was one of David's pictures, which was on the wall, and I loved that immediately. There were two of his on the wall actually, and they weren't actually kind of put out as part of the things to look at. They were on the wall, or maybe they were put there as part of that too. I'm not sure, but they were on the wall. And when we kind of regrouped to speak about what we thought was good, they were the first things that I thought should definitely go in. So I'm very happy that everyone agreed with those. And when I spoke to him a little bit the second time we went up there. Was it the second time? Yeah, I think so. We got to meet the artist that time, which was really cool. And he spoke a little bit about, he lives in the country, so he lives kind of out of the way a little bit. And he spoke about, kind of isolation a little bit, and kind of living out a little bit in that sense, and also kind of moving house and this kind of thing. And I think you get that real, you can kind of feel that off his pictures, that there's that kind of observing something in that way, and maybe being observed back somehow as well. I think they're very powerful, those pictures. I mean, Una spoke a lot about growing up as a traveller. She was a traveller, and that sense of living on the outskirts all the time and never quite feeling a part of a place in that sense, and being thought of as being different, and being outside again, literally. And she also spoke a little bit about being female as well in that role, and wanting to do more manual things, like more manual jobs, like building walls, like maybe some of the male people were doing to get money, and not being able to do that because she was female, and that whole thing of what a female's role is and male's role when she was growing up, and that was kind of interesting too, in terms of being an outsider in situations. That was interesting. I think in terms of, I get that sense with Una's stuff as well. It kind of feels like you're observing something that's happening, and some of her work that's chosen for the exhibition, it feels like it's a snapshot of that moment where the people being observed notice you and all kind of look out at you. I get that sense that all the eyes of all the faces are kind of looking at you as if you're kind of observing them, and they just spot you in that way, and it gets that kind of sense of being outside and looking into something, in the same way I kind of feel of David's work as well. And I guess it's kind of the same with the portraits too. They're kind of looking out at you as well. Yeah. And Alan's work's interesting as well, in that sense that his stuff, his portraits were taken from photos from magazines and newspapers and stuff. And when he spoke about his work, he spoke quite clearly, and it seemed quite straightforward. He picks a picture that he likes and paints it. Most photographs that we see nowadays have been filtered so much through Photoshop and through digital processing, and they don't actually look like people really anymore. And that kind of, it's been manipulated in that sense. And it's got to the stage where people are kind of manipulating themselves through like plastic surgery and stuff, to kind of see more what this general idea of perfect, or what people are supposed to look like. And there's something really beautiful about Alan's pictures, in that they kind of refilter that through his filter. So he kind of, his paintings, his portraits, kind of almost rehumanize those photos for me, because they make the people look interested and different. Yeah, I mean, I got the sense from all three of those artists that they, it was like making out was like breathing out. They were just doing it. They weren't really, putting too much preconceived idea into it in that sense. They were just putting themselves into it in the moment of doing it, and so it's a lot more pure in that way, I think. And I got that sense from all of them. It was just a part of life and very important because of that. There's something about those three artists' work that has more layers than that and has more depth than that, and you can kind of see them and take something from it. But then there's more there somehow as well. I mean, it's quite unusual that all three of the artists' work are they're not really abstract works. They have figures, and they have faces and things, and it's not generally the kind of stuff that I would like in that sense, really. So it's interesting because there were more abstract artists' work up there too, but for some reason we didn't tend to gravitate towards that. And it wasn't that it wasn't as good. For some reason, I don't know whether it was more because there's something about the feel of Art Angel and the people involved in running it and the artist that was so human. I kind of wanted somehow maybe the art to include a representation of being human in that way that's a bit more obvious than because it's a representation literally of that, because there's people in these pictures. It takes a lot of or it can take a lot of confidence to do something just for the love of it and to let it stand there. And and that's kind of sounds strange, because I think a lot of people that make work in that way would consider themselves to not be confident, probably. But it's very brave to make a piece of, to paint a picture and just let it stand on its own merits without thinking, well, it should do this or it should do that, or someone should like it because of this. Whereas if you're just doing it and then letting it be there, it's a very hard thing to do for anyone, that I think. Because if you've not got these signifiers and these boxes that you take, that you know that it's going to cover a certain thing, it's much harder to do it. But then in some ways it's much easier, because you just got to be yourself and do it. But it's sometimes the hardest thing, I think. Where I think all three of those artists' work have managed that.